under anesthesia. My wife confessed, "I've been sleeping with your brother for 8 months." My mom was in the room, and her face went white. What followed was a disaster. I destroyed them both. Hey, Reddit, you know that feeling when your entire world shifts in about 3 seconds? Yeah, that's where this starts. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the show you're about to hear. I'm Cole, 35, male. My wife Elise was getting her gallbladder removed. Routine surgery she'd been putting off for months. I'm standing by her hospital bed like a good husband, holding her hand while she comes out of anesthesia. My mom is in the visitor chair, scrolling Facebook. The room is quiet. Elise is mumbling random stuff as the drugs were off, complaining about the four, asking for water. Typical post-surgery babbling. Then she drops the bomb I never saw coming. "I've been sleeping with your brother for 8 months. Crystal clear. No confusion. Just a plain statement delivered like she was commenting on the weather. My mom's phone clatters to the floor. The nurse freezes. I feel like someone punched me in the chest. Elise keeps going, completely oblivious. Ronan makes me feel alive again. You're always working. He actually cares about what he has. I look at my mom. Her face has gone white. I recognize that look, the look of someone getting caught. What is she saying? I ask quietly. She bends down to pick up her phone, hand shaking. Cole, she's not herself right now. People say all kinds of crazy stuff under anesthesia. The nurse clears her throat awkwardly. Sir, patients often have vivid dreams during recovery. I hold up a hand. My eyes stay locked on my mother's face. The woman who raised me, who taught me about integrity and family loyalty, who now looks at me like I've caught her stealing. Mom. She sinks back into the chair. I don't know, son. I told you she's not herself right now. Elise is still mumbling, bits and pieces floating up from her subconscious. Hotel rooms enlightened me about girls' nights, how Ronan was everything I wasn't, spontaneous, exciting, attentive. Each word is a knife twisting deeper. I walk out before I say something that would get me banned from the hospital and sit in my car in the parking garage for 2 hours, hands gripping the steering wheel. 8 months. My wife had been sleeping with my brother for 8 months. And my own mother not only knew about it, but was basically covering for them. Her nervousness said everything. Here's the thing about being betrayed by everyone you love. It clarifies your priorities real quick. I wasn't going to be the victim here. I was going to burn their whole world down and walk away whistling. I spend the next week playing concerned husband while Elise recovers. I bring her soup, fluff her pillows, listen to her complain about the incision pain, even drive to 3 different pharmacies at 2 a.m. when she can't sleep. Let her think she's safe. Meanwhile, I start digging. First stop, our cell phone records. We've been on a family plan for years. What I find makes my stomach turn. Hundreds of texts between her and Ronan over the past 8 months. Phone calls that lasted hours. The pattern is obvious once you know what to look for. Every time Elise says she's having dinner with her sister, there's a call to Ronan. Every girl's night out matches up with Ronan being mysteriously unavailable for our usual hangouts. What really gets me, though, is the way they trash talk me. Ronan calling me boring, Elise complaining that I'm emotionally unavailable. Both of them laughing about how clueless I was. I screenshot everything, save it all to a secure cloud account. Next, I check our credit card statements. Hotel charges I'd never seen before, restaurants and parts of town Elise claimed she never visited. Even a jewelry purchase from Tiffany's that definitely wasn't for me. Ronan had been whining and dining my wife with money from the business we co-owned. Yeah, forgot to mention that part. Ronan and I ran a construction company together. Something we built from nothing over 10 years. We were equal partners, shared bank accounts, and trusted each other completely, which meant he'd been using our joint business funds to finance his affair with my wife. That's when I called Mateo. Mateo Cruz was my college roommate, now a private investigator who specialized in corporate fraud. We'd stayed close over the years. I'd been best man at his wedding, helped him move twice, and we still grab drinks every few weeks. Cole, what's wrong? You sound terrible, he says when he picks up. I tell him everything, the hospital confession, the phone records, the financial trail. He listens without interrupting. Jesus Christ, Cole, your own brother. I need everything, Mateo. Photos, financial records, legal documentation. I want them buried so deep they'll need archaeologists to find their reputations. I pause. And, Mateo, bill me your full rate. No friendship discounts. This is business now. And it's going to get expensive and ugly. Good. I want ugly. Mateo moved like a bloodhound. Within 72 hours, he dug up a paper trail that would make a forensic accountant cry. Hotel receipts, dinner charges. Even a weekend in Vegas Ronan had written off as a business expense. The real jackpot, though, was surveillance footage. Mateo's contact at a private security firm pulled months of clips from upscale hotel lobbies and parking lots, and there they were, my wife and my brother, coming and going together. The clearest shot was 2 weeks before Lisa's surgery. Marriott lobby, Ronan's hand on the small of her back, her in the dress I bought her for our anniversary. I sat in Mateo's office watching them on a laptop and felt something cold and final click into place in my chest. 3 days later, Ronan swaggered into my office unannounced, that same cocky smirk he always wore, and started lecturing me about my supposed neglect, how he'd been there for Lise, how I'd been treating her like a roommate. He wasn't sorry. If anything, he sounded proud, even bragging that he'd been investing in client relationships. Our business funds allegedly used for client dinners, while 40, 60, maybe 60,000 in fraudulent charges stared me in the face. I told him I'd been tracking everything. He sneered that I was a pushover who would do nothing. I stood up, told him to get out. He laughed, mocked my softness, straightened his jacket like he'd already won. That night, I called Lauren, Ronan's ex. She met me at a coffee shop. She looked healthier than I'd seen in years and genuinely happy. But when I showed her the hotel photos, her face drained. "He's doing it again," she whispered, hand shaking. We went through the evidence, dates, hotels, pictures, and she admitted what I already knew. He hadn't changed. Then I laid out the part of the plan she needed to hear. Ronan's been bleeding our company dry to finance this affair, and if she wanted child support to keep coming, she should get a court order to seize assets before he hid the money. Lauren's lawyer brain clicked into gear immediately. She flipped through preliminary report Mateo had compiled, names, dates, amounts, and her eyebrows rose higher with every page. "Cole, this is incredibly thorough," she said, and for the first time in months, I felt like something was finally going to move in my favor. "You didn't have to do this." "Yeah, I did. Ronan screwed you over for years, and you deserve to recover what you can. Besides, your kids need that support money." She goes quiet for a long beat, then asks, "What do you need from me?" I tell her, just be ready to move when the time comes. And don't fall for Ronan when he comes crawling back with apologies and promises. "Never again," she says firm. I learned that lesson the hard way. Meanwhile, Mateo keeps digging, and what he finds makes my stomach sink. Ronan wasn't just using the affair for thrills. He'd been quietly looting the company for months. Fake invoices, inflated expense reports, skimming client payments. This was organized, and Mateo says it looks like it's been in motion for at least a year. He's been setting himself up to either push me out or strip the business clean. Worse, Mateo's been tracking Ronan's chatter, and the bastard's been bad-mouthing me to clients, painting himself as steady and me as unstable. I start calling people. The Marshall Project, the downtown office complex, the Westfield residential development. I need names and ink. That night, I put cameras up around the house, not just for proof, but because I had a dark hunch Ronan might try something desperate when his world began to crack. I sent Maria, our housekeeper 3 years, on a paid 2-week break. She didn't deserve to get dragged into this. 2 days later, the cameras catch Ronan letting himself in with a spare key I never knew he had. He rifles through my office like a man certain he's untouchable, pawing through papers looking for a way out. I let him finish, then call him cold the next morning. "Find what you were looking for in my office 2 days ago." Silence. "Hello," he stammers. "I don't know what you're talking about." I tell him the cameras saw everything. Cops or explanation. His choice. More silence, and then low and trembling. "You set me up." I say, calm as ice, "You set yourself up? I just documented it." He doesn't deny much after that. 3 weeks until Thanksgiving. 3 weeks until I plan to pull the rug out from under him in front of everyone who matters. Ronan spends his life thinking he's untouchable. He's about to find out how wrong he is. A week before Thanksgiving, he struts into the office in his nicest suit, trying to charm his way through a one-on-one meeting. "Let's settle this like men," he says, that arrogant swagger on full display. He blows off $60,000 of fraud as creative accounting, gaslights the whole thing into my supposed neglect as a husband and a partner. Elise came to him because I was always working, he says, and he was merely there for her. He brazenly spins theft and betrayal into acts of business development, like he's earned some kind of medal. Then the smile drops. The threat comes out. If I don't accept this, if I don't bow down and let him have her in the business, he'll destroy me. He'll tell anyone who'll listen that I'm an abusive husband, call every client, make sure I never work in this industry again. That's the real Ronan. The planner, the manipulator, the man who's been playing a long game to take everything I built. He even says Elise is on board, that she's finally found happiness and was too nice to leave until now. And Mom understands that Elise makes me happy. She wants what's best for both her sons, but you know how some people treat Thanksgiving like a performance? Mom treated it like opening night. Turkey, good china, the whole dining room stretched to seat 15, every detail choreographed, so the family looked perfect. Ronan arrived at noon in his practiced charm, hugging, joking, playing devoted son. Rebecca, the 6-month blonde, wandered to the scene clueless. Elisa floated down in a dress I'd never seen, too expensive, too staged for a family meal. And when she hugged Ronan, she whispered something that made him smirk like he'd won a private prize. Dad waddled through the room, oblivious and proud, while Mom kept glancing between them with that pleased, plotting look I'd come to recognize. I did my part. Laughed at Uncle Dennis's bad jokes, made small talk, all while watching, cataloging every touch and shared look, the little performances that said they thought they'd made us all believe them. After dinner, as the kids drifted to TV and the house softened into post-turkey fog, Ronan cornered me in the kitchen and, with that same arrogant breath, gloated about how happy Elisa was because someone finally paid attention to her. He stood there, literally boasting he'd stolen my wife while we sat at our family table. I smiled, not a friendly smile, and told him there was something he should know. Then I walked back into the dining room and asked everyone to quiet down. Before we do the gratitude speeches, I said, "There's something I'm thankful for, the truth." I hooked my phone into Dad's speaker and let Elisa's slurred confession fill the room. "I've been sleeping with your brother for 8 months. The air went flat. I let it play on hotel rooms, lies about girls' nights, Ronan making her feel alive. Then I cued the office recording. Ronan's voice, cold and casual, admitting how he'd been positioning himself to take everything. I fed Dad's TV the surveillance clips. 2 months of hotel lobbies, Ronan's hand at the small of her back, the dress I bought her, screens filled with receipts, credit card charges, the fake expenses that had bankrolled their secret. Everyone watched as the pieces clicked together, the text, the photos, the invoices, and Ronan snapped his feet, sputtering, "Cole, you don't understand." I did. I understood he'd been stealing from me, sleeping with my wife, and smiling to my face every day while he planned to ruin me. The room exploded. Rebecca shot to her feet, grabbed her purse, and stormed out, yelling at Ronan to lose her number forever. Uncle Dennis shouted over the chaos, demanding answers, but the most striking reaction came from Mom. She rose, finger trembling as she pointed at me. "How dare you humiliate your brother like this?" I stared at her in disbelief. Humiliate him? This was betrayal, theft, blackmail. "Mom, he's been lying to me for 8 months. He stole $60,000 from our business. He threatened to ruin me if I didn't let him keep sleeping with my wife. Which part of that is just a mistake?" Her voice cracked, clinging to the narrative she'd built around him. "Ronan is hurting. His divorce was hard. He's been struggling. So that gives him the right to destroy my marriage and rob me blind?" For the first time that night, Dad spoke. He rose slowly, his face tight, his voice low and sharp. "Linda, you knew." The room went silent. His eyes, filled with something I'd never seen before, pure disgust, locked onto hers. "You knew Ronan was stealing. You knew he was sleeping with Elise, and you said nothing. Mom's chin lifted in defiance. He's my son. I won't abandon him when he needs me. Cole is strong. He can handle this. But Ronan, Dad cut her off, his voice rising. Our son has been betraying his brother in the worst way imaginable. And you've been covering for him, enabling him, choosing favorites in your own family. Her mask slipped. The truth spilled out, raw and ugly. Ronan always needed more support. Cole could take care of himself. Ronan needed help, understanding. In that moment, everything snapped into focus. She hadn't just looked the other way. She justified it. Convinced herself her golden child could do no wrong. The fallout was immediate. Rebecca gone. Elise sobbing. Ronan sputtering excuses. And Dad? He just looked at Mom like she was a stranger. 42 years of marriage, he said quietly. And I'm only just seeing who you really are. He walked upstairs without another word. Minutes later, he came down with a suitcase. Dennis, can I stay with you and Darlene a while? Uncle Dennis, still shell-shocked, nodded. As Dad passed me on the way out, he rested a hand on my shoulder. I'm proud of you, son. It took guts to tell the truth. Then he was gone. The room emptied in fragments. Ronan and Elise tried to approach me, but I brushed past them without a word, let them choke on the wreckage they created. Mom sat alone at the head of the table, surrounded by the ruins of her perfect Thanksgiving spread, finally realizing what her loyalty had cost. The week that followed was demolition in slow motion. Elise showed up at my office Monday morning, spitting fury. You destroyed my life for nothing. You humiliated me like some petty child. I didn't even flinch. No, you destroyed your own life when you decided to sleep with my brother. She tried to twist it. How I was never home, how she felt like a roommate. She painted herself as a victim, as though betrayal was just a search for happiness. But I felt nothing. She was already dead to me. Pack your things, I told her. Get out of my house. Our house, she snapped. I have just as much right. No, you don't. You have no legal claim. Her face turned red. You planned this. You've been setting me up from the beginning. I planned to protect myself from a liar and a thief. Turns out I was right. That afternoon, I hired a divorce attorney. No-fault filing, exclusive use of the house, accounts frozen, discovery in motion. She was served 2 days later. She tried for spousal support, but the affair receipts and the business theft sank her case instantly. 6 months later, it was final. She got her car, her clothes, and whatever she could prove she bought. I kept the house. I kept the company. Clean break. But back in my office that Monday, she didn't see the writing on the wall yet. She ran it for 10 straight minutes until her mask cracked and venom spilled out. Screw you. You're a cold, selfish bastard who cares more about your reputation than your wife's happiness. Ronan was right about you. She slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. An hour later, Mateo called. Cole, you need to know. Elise is calling your clients, telling them you're having a breakdown, saying you can't be trusted. The vindictiveness was staggering, but it backfired. Most of my clients knew me too well to buy it. They called me directly, offering support, letting me know exactly what she was doing. Within 2 days, word spread to the entire construction community. Elise Carver had tried to sabotage her own husband's business after being caught cheating. Instead of taking me down, she burned the last shreds of her own reputation. And Ronan? His situation was about to get even worse. Lauren's lawyer didn't waste any time. The moment the paperwork hit, Ronan's world froze with it. Every account locked, every car declined, his savings out of reach. He couldn't even scrape together rent. By Wednesday, he stumbled into my office, looking like life had aged him a decade in 5 days. The swagger was gone. What stood in front of me was a desperate man watching his empire burn. Brother, we need to talk. No, we don't. His voice cracked, laced with blame. You're destroying me over a woman who doesn't even love you. You're throwing away our brotherhood for someone who's just using you for stability. Even here on the edge of ruin, he was still trying to manipulate me. Get out of my office. I'm your brother. We built this business together. You can't just throw me away because of one mistake. One mistake. My voice sharpened. Ronan, you betrayed me for 8 months. Which part of that was a mistake? For the first time, his mask slipped. I saw something raw, almost regret. His words cracked under the weight. I screwed up, Cole. I know I did. But Elise, she made me feel things I'd never felt before. Like I mattered. Like I was worth something. So you destroyed my marriage for a therapy session? His chin lifted, stubborn even in collapse. I'm in love with her. She's in love with me. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I almost laughed. Ronan, Elise was just in this office begging to reconcile. She told me what you two had wasn't real love. She wanted counseling. She wanted to rebuild with me. The color drained from his face. She what? She threw you under the bus the second life got hard. You wrecked your world for someone who never cared about you. He sank into the chair, head in his hands, broken in a way I'd never seen. His voice was barely a whisper. What am I supposed to do now? I've lost everything. Figure it out yourself. He left without another word. 2 days later, I heard he'd been arrested. The evidence Mateo gathered buried him. Fraud, theft, paper trails that screamed guilt. 3 to 5 years, minimum. Full restitution. Mom's calls started coming, one after the other. At first, she was furious, defending Ronan, blaming me for tearing the family apart. Then the anger softened into pleading, begging me to forgive him. By the end, her messages were desperate. She was losing Dad. Ronan was facing prison. The family was split clean down the middle. I never called her back. Dad, meanwhile, had packed a bag and filed for divorce. He stayed with Uncle Dennis for a while. One night he called me, his voice softer than I'd heard in years. I owe you an apology, son. I should have seen what your mother was doing, the way she excused Ronan, always, while holding you to a higher standard. I failed you as a father. Dad, you couldn't have known. I could have. I should have. But I was too busy keeping peace to notice your mother was destroying the very family she claimed to protect. The divorce was brutal. Mom tried to spin it as Dad abandoning the family in crisis. But too many people had seen her true colors. Her blind defense of Ronan. Her silence on his theft and his affair. She walked away with half the assets and none of the sympathy. As for me, I was stronger than I'd ever been. The business thrived without Ronan bleeding it dry. I found a new partner, Dave, a good man who'd once built his own company but had to sell everything to pay for his wife's medical bills. I didn't just hire him. I gave him half, because good people deserve more than scraps. Elise slithered out to Ohio with her parents, but not before one last trick. She showed up at my house one night, claiming she was pregnant, claiming I owed it to our child to reconcile. Paternity test. I said flatly, if it's mine, we'll talk. If it's Ronan's, that's between you two. She never took it. The pregnancy was as fake as everything else about her. A year later, I sat in my new office overlooking the skyline, contract on my desk for the biggest project I'd ever landed. Ronan was 6 months into a 4-year sentence. The judge hadn't bought his sob story about mental health or family pressure. Fraud was fraud. Dad was lighter, freer, even dating again. We had dinner once a month, rebuilding what had been broken for years. Mom was alone, living in the family house, calling sometimes, her voice older, more brittle with each message. She talked about forgiveness, about healing. I never picked up. And then came the final knock at my door. Elise. My secretary's voice buzzed through the intercom. Mr. Carver, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. I looked up from my reports, that familiar, cold calm washing over me. Send her in. She walked in looking nothing like the woman who once tried to burn down my life. Her confidence was gone. She looked wrecked. Cole, she whispered, voice cracking. Thank you for seeing me. I gestured to the chair. 2 minutes. Her hand shook as she Saturday. I know I have no right to be here. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I need you to understand, I never meant for it to go this far. And I thought, here we go. I let her talk. Let her pour out the performance she'd clearly rehearsed. Elise tried to paint herself as the victim, claiming Ronan had taken advantage of her while she was vulnerable. Her voice cracked as she admitted she thought it was love. But really, it was just excitement, a distraction from the emptiness in her life. She leaned forward, tears spilling over now. Losing you, losing us, it showed me what really mattered. You were my stability, my anchor. You were the one who truly cared, even when I was too blind to see it. The pleading tone slipped into her voice, that familiar manipulation dressed as sincerity. I know I broke your trust, Cole. I know I hurt you in the worst way, but people can change. I've changed. I've had a year to think about what I threw away. Her hand reached across the desk, trembling, desperate to touch mine. I pulled back. She pressed on anyway. I'm not asking you to take me back overnight. Just give me a chance to prove I'm not the same woman who betrayed you. And honestly, the performance was good, convincing even. If I didn't know her the way I did, maybe I would have believed it. She looked at me with those same wide, hopeful eyes that used to make me feel like the center of her universe. I let the silence stretch, watched her squirm, then leaned back in my chair and smiled. Elise, that was beautiful. I can tell you put a lot of thought into this speech. Her face lit up, hope rushing in. Cole, But what makes you think I'd ever give you another chance? Her mouth froze. Silence. Elise, I said quietly, you've been dead to me, and you'll always be dead to me. She broke then, sobbing harder. No, please. Just let me finish. I love you. Only you. Right? Your time's up, I said, flat. You need to leave. Her tears twisted into rage. She screamed, voice raw. You don't understand. I was hurt. I was angry. I didn't mean. I pressed the intercom. Yes, Ms. Daniels. This lady needs to be escorted out immediately. The door opened. 2 security guards stepped inside. Elise thrashed, tried to fight, her screams echoing off the office walls. You can't do this to me. I have nothing left. You destroyed my life. They pulled her toward the doorway, just before she disappeared. She turned back one last time, eyes wild. I hope you're happy, you heartless bastard. I smiled. Yes, very. And that was it. The game was over. I'd won. And God, it felt good.